Hello, lovely people of the internet. I got a quick question for you. Is Babylon 5 still one of the most underappreciated, underhyped, unspoken of TV sci fi show of the last 20 years? I just finished watching it last week, and right now, of this recording, it's May 2014. Babylon 5 is awesome. Let's get into this.
Pyro Media.
Hey folks, welcome back to Tower Media. I'm your host, Donald Wonder. Today I want to talk about almost everything to do with the Babylon 5 franchise as of May 2014. Let's get straight into this baby. Okay people, so Babylon 5 is a space opera TV series that ran at its core from 1993 to 1998. Now there are some spin-offs, side movies and stuff that, when you include them, run the series until 2008, and I will be getting into that, but I kind of want to focus just on the core 5-season story right now. Alright, so I'm pretty sure most of you guys know that as of 2014, I'm really in the big sci-fi phase right now. I'm reading a lot of sci-fi books. I'm trying to catch up on all these sci-fi series. I'm a Trekkie. I've seen every single Stargate franchise as well. Universe, Atlantis, SG-1. So Battlestar Galactica and this Babylon 5 are like the two missing pieces that I haven't seen. I've just finished Babylon 5, which is why I'm doing this now. And it's funny because back in the day, when I used to watch Star Trek, Babylon 5 was always that show I would see on TV and be like, yeah, what's this? Some little knockoff, crappy Star Trek? It just seemed like the weaker little cousin knockoff sci-fi show that nobody was watching. That if you were lame, you were watching Babylon 5. That's how I always saw it. Now, as I got older and I started watching other things apart from Star Trek, obviously, I started to watch Stargate, which turned out to be awesome. Not so much the spin-offs, but SG-1 was good. And so Babylon 5 was going to get on my list eventually, but as I've been reading reviews on Babylon 5, oh, it's a masterpiece, it's amazing, it's so overlooked, it's got some of the best visual effects of its time. I thought, okay, now it's time for me to get to this shit and see what all the hype is about. And as I said in the beginning, man, this show has really aged well, was really well written, and has really blown me away. To get some of the nitty gritty out of the way, Babylon 5 was written by J. Michael Straczynski. I'm sure I'm messing up his name. So from this point on, I'm just going to refer to him abbreviated to JMS. JMS has written a lot of screenplays and TV shows in the past. Stuff like He-Man, She-Ra, The Twilight Zone, the movie The Changeling, the first Thor movie, most recently World War Z, and many other smaller things and smaller pieces there. Now, the premise to Babylon 5 is it's a space station set in neutral space. It's the fifth of its kind. That's why it's called Babylon 5, because there was 4 previous to it that had some catastrophes to it. And it's set in neutral space. And the first season initially starts where 4 or 5 ambassadors come to live and stay on Babylon 5 so they can discuss alien policies, so they can kind of try to get along with the humans and they're trying to build a community, they're trying to build I don't want to say a federation, but they're just in the beginning phases of building alien relations across all these different alien races. And that's what Babylon 5 is. It's a nice middle ground to discuss policy and to discuss trading and stuff like that. So, it's a place of commerce, it's a place to discuss peace, etc., etc., etc. That's the initial premise. Now, as the story goes on, things start happening, alliances are built, enemies are made, galactic war erupts, invasion, genocide, romance, all the kind of basic science fiction trappings you've seen in other stories are in this show as well. But it's a space opera, so there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of dialogue, it's intense, but it's very enjoyable overall. Okay, people, now this is what I talk about the characters and acting for Babylon 5. This is what blows the show out of the water. The acting, in a way, it's actually too good for its own good. And what I mean by that is, this show's under the radar. Not a lot of people know, well, people know about it. There's a big fandom for it. But in the bigger scheme of things, against Star Trek and Star Wars, all these other sci-fi shows, it's very underrated, so people don't talk about it. I kind of want this show to get rebooted, but because the acting's so good, I don't know if when it's eventually redone, if they can pull this off the way they did with this kind of cast. For an example, just imagine recasting the characters of Casablanca or Vertigo or any classic movie you love. And those performances are what drive that particular franchise, or that story, or that movie. When you try to replace them and do it again, it could fall apart. I don't know if they can. I don't know if they, when they eventually reboot this, if it's gonna come off as well this time, because the acting is just that good. The acting makes this show. So again, it's kind of its own worst enemy. But anyway, now I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that all the acting is mind blowing in this show, but 80% of the acting in the show is bloody superb, and it's just because the characters are so real. They have that realness to them. The thing about other, let's use Star Trek. I'm not going to harp on Star Trek a little bit, but Star Trek is set in a time where things are very proper. Everyone's in their, Star Trek uniform, and they talk very proper. It's set in a future where there's peace and everything. Babylon 5, I would say the cast and crew act like more like military kind of police officers, more loose, more realistic, more relatable. It makes it much easier to watch, and that's why it ages so well, because when you watch it, the characters act more normal how we act now. Not formal, not weird, just realistic. I'm gonna have to single some characters out. That's how good they are. Jakar and Lando, these two, I'll put their names and actors up on the screen here. These two are just phenomenal. These two actors are, for me, they are just absolutely fantastic. Acting as alien, just them acting as aliens, number one, is fantastic. Where they're coming from, great. Their performances, man, it's just that good. The two captains, I can't go into spoilers now why there's two, but Sheridan, John Sheridan, excellent. He is the captain that's for the majority of the show. He comes a little bit later in season 2 onwards. Fantastic. Sinclair, which was the first captain in the pilot movie in the first season, again, great. I love both of these captains. They're so direct. They're just realistic. They got good backstories. And as front runners for the show, you need a strong male lead. These guys fit the role perfectly. And even though, this is not a spoiler, even though the first captain goes away, he does come back and is played so well into the storyline later. I was just like, this guy, JMS, the way he writes these characters as well, fantastic. Now, the characterization between the characters, even some of the smaller characters, are absolutely great. Now, not to be sexist here, but some of the female characters like Ivanova, a bit too one note for my liking, to be honest with you. She's probably the one I like the least, but still good, but just I was a bit disappointed in contrast. Garibaldi, he's almost up there as the best as well. He's probably one of the best characters in the whole show, but near the end, I felt like they kind of overworked his character, maybe a little bit too much character development on him. But anyway, I almost forgot to mention Delenn as well. Delenn, the actress that plays Delenn, you might remember her as, more recently, she was in Lost, a show that I have very mixed feelings about, but very good actress as well. And her race and Nimbari, good. But again, I don't want to go too much into it, so let's move on to the next category. The visuals for Babylon 5 have won awards. It's been said that Babylon 5, it set the standard of visual effects at that time, 1993. Now, I borrowed the DVD box set from my friend when I was watching this, and when I was watching it, I actually thought, is this a remastered version? Because the graphics are so good. I was like, 1993, they weren't this good. I mean, in comparison to today, it's not mind-blowing, but for 1993, and I was watching Star Trek: The Next Generation at the same time, they're not in the same class. So, if this really was the kind of graphics they had for Babylon 5 back in 93. They were 10 years ahead of the curve. And I know the Star Trek franchise had a much bigger budget, so I don't know how. And on top of the actual visuals, the actual character models, you know, the way they actually use the costume design, fantastic. The alien designs are fantastic. The Minbari, the tons of other alien names I can't remember right now, so I'm not going to bother. But I'll try to put some images up right now. They look really good. This show has aged fantastically well in terms of visuals. I can't stress that enough. It's battles. You don't get that recycled spaceship battle stuff. Man, the visuals are so good. The sound, meh. I'm not gonna say it's mind blowing. Pretty good. I wasn't the biggest fan of the openings, to be honest with you. The opening credits. Star Trek has a very epic opening. Star Wars is an epic opening. Babylon 5, you kind of dropped the ball on the opening. Let's be honest here. To see the fifth season opening is the worst because it's like a greatest hits opening of all the previous seasons, which is just boring and jarring. And the spin-off series as well, which I'm going to get into later, The Crusade, their opening was just god awful. That was terrible. But anyway, now okay, the storyline and pacing. Babylon 5 is 5 seasons. Each season is set as one calendar year in whatever space year they're using. The first season, slow, but it's setting up the premise. Seasons 2 to 4, epic, war, the core, the action, the everything, so engrossing, just dragged me in. The 5th season, I consider it the wrap-up season, the season where the majority of things have happened. They're going into much more political stances and just wrapping everything up. And it ties everything up very nicely. So neat and tidy. Bing! Season 1 to 5, just one nice bing. So the thing that impressed me with the story is, man, this guy, JMS, he wraps up so many loose ends. Babylon 5 probably has one of the best written time-traveling stories in sci-fi I've seen. Not in terms of complexity, but in terms of how he set up some things earlier, which I don't even believe he knew what he was doing. I'm like, you couldn't have known you were going to do that. Because some characters leave, and the way he writes them into the time-traveling shit, it's like, you couldn't have known that. You couldn't have known you were going to do that. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because it's written so well and ties in so well, and he just fills in all these plot holes. I'm like, I can't believe. When it was over, I was like, talk about a finely tuned written narrative. Fan-fucking-tastic. Again, so much praise. Writing is the top notch here. Great characterization, as I said before. Great plots, great themes, great politics. Great. All is not good. People, you know I'm a critical guy. What don't I like about Babylon 5, especially when it comes to story? Babylon 5 has a lot of side stories and side movies and stuff like that. Honestly, the majority of them, I just find them to be just irrelevant. There's a pilot movie called The Gathering. That's compulsory. That's before you even watch season 1. That you have to watch. There's another movie called In the Beginning. That should only be watched after you've watched the end of season 4. So, and then the most recent special, I think it's called The Lost Tales, Babylon 5 Lost Tales. That was created in 2008. That's a great tie-in to just end it off. It was already ended anyway, but that adds some more character development, adds some little side stories. Fantastic. Now, all the other spin-offs, like Legend of the Rangers and all this other shit, honestly, they were superfluous crap. I was bored by it. They had very little continuity. I know some of the Babylon 5 diehards will be like, this guy don't know what the hell he's talking about. I would not recommend anything else except for the first pilot movie, In the Beginning, Lost Tales, and the 5 seasons. That's it. Okay. All that said, there was a spin-off series to Babylon 5 called Crusade that's set. They even have a movie that is set up. I think it's called Call to Arms movie that's set up for that series, Crusade. The Crusade series was cancelled even before it got started. So don't even bother. Don't even bother. That first season, they were even just setting things up. No point watching it because they cancelled it. And honestly, didn't like Crusade anyway. I thought the plot was a good idea, but from the first season I saw, corny. That's coming more off as a kind of a Star Trek kind of rip-off, going on a journey on a spaceship to find a cure. Blah 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 blah. Didn't like it. I think it's crap. Would not recommend it. So again, let me just stress this. Let me just say this for the record. If I'm ever recommending Babylon 5, pilot movie, seasons 1 to 4, in the beginning, season 5, then the Lost Tales special, that's it. That's all I would recommend. All of that shows you one complete story for Babylon 5. You don't need to watch anything else. And I give that the highest praise. Okay, so with all that said, what do I rate Babylon 5? Babylon 5 is something so it's just kind of disappeared in the void of the great sci-fi. I mean, they're rebooting Battlestar Galactica now. I don't even know why. It's a rumor, a very strong rumor. Like I said, I want them to reboot this so we can get more attention. But I just don't think they're going to bring the action up to the level it was done on this original run. So, but anyway, I give this a high first class. I need it to marinate in my mind because it might get a Hall of Fame. It might be in a Hall of Fame of TV series. But it's one of the best sci-fi TV series I've ever seen. It's fantastic. I wanted to promote it. That's why I'm reviewing it now. And, you know, any lover of sci-fi needs to check the show out. It is really that good. Really great. Really down to earth. You don't even need to be a sci-fi fan to enjoy this, man. Seriously, it's that good. I think it's an easy watch once you get past the first season. And yeah, I've just been riding it, praising it to high heaven because it really is that good. And I think I better just stop there. You know, if I haven't sold you on it, then I don't know. Maybe watch Star Wars or Clone Wars or something. Anyway, people, that was another episode of Tyro Media. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. I know I've been riding this show like it's the greatest thing on earth. It really is good. It really is that good, man. Really do check it out. But until then, I'll see you on the next one, people. Peace.